I have so many stories to tell about Miles Davis. And one of my favorite ones is when we were performing in, I believe, Stuttgart, Germany. This was about 1963 or maybe early 64. I think it was 63. And just as I am today, I've always been interested in science since I was a kid. So I'm always buying, now it's computers and it's, video cameras and the newest and the smallest technologically advanced things. At that time, it was tape recorder. It was before cassette. So I bought a brand new Uher, portable reel-to-reel tape recorder, which at that time was the smallest in the world, one of the smallest in the world. And so one of the big problems that Miles had with me was that I would take the tape recorder, and I remember specifically this time that I would carry the tape recorder on stage, and I would take my little microphones, two small microphones, because it was stereo, crawl under the piano and set the microphones up. But usually at about that time, and in Stuttgart, this particular time, Miles counted off the tempo with his foot. It was like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I was still under the piano. I was supposed to start, and I was still under the piano. Miles looked up and went, ah. So he had to start it again. Now, finally we started and everything was fine. And I remember that we were playing So What, one of Miles's compositions from the late 50s, I guess. And Tony Williams was playing drums, Ron Carter bass, Wayne Shorter saxophone, and it was a really hot night. The music was tight, it was powerful, it was innovative, and fun. We were having a lot of fun, and the music was on. Tony Williams was burning on his drums, and so right in the middle of Miles' solo, when he was playing one of his amazing solos, and I'm trying, I'm in there and I'm playing. Right in the middle of his solo, I played the wrong chord. A chord that it just sounded completely wrong. It sounded like a big mistake. And I did this and I went, oh, like this. I put my hands around my ears. And Miles paused for a second. And then he played some notes that made my chord right. He made it correct, which astounded me. I couldn't believe what I heard. Miles was able to make something that was wrong into something that was right, with the power of the choice of notes that he made and the feeling that he had. And so I couldn't play for about a minute. I couldn't even touch the piano. But what I realize now is that Miles didn't hear it as a mistake. He heard it as something that happened, just an event. And so that was part of the reality of what was happening at that moment. And he dealt with it. He found something that, since he didn't hear it as a mistake, he felt it was his responsibility to find something that fit. And he was able to do that. That taught me a very big lesson about not only music, but about life. We can look for the world to be as we would like it to be as individuals. Make it easy for me. that idea. We can look for that. But I think the important thing is that we grow. And the only way we can grow is to have a mind that's open enough to be able to accept situations, to be able to experience situations as they are and turn them into medicine, turn poison into medicine. Take whatever situation you have and make something constructive happen with it. That's what I learned from that situation with Miles. I did a concert uh, the last few months before Miles passed away, and I think it was advertised as Miles Davis and the Children of Miles. And I feel, in a sense, I'm like a child of Miles, and I think everyone who was on that concert, and many musicians who weren't on that concert that have had some experience, even if it's for a brief time, we all feel, in a sense, that we're children of Miles, and that Miles is, in a sense, uh, well, in a sense, he's our master. He's certainly a master. That cannot be denied. I'm sure of that. But in a sense, he's like our master in terms of music. Um, um, and he's a father in the sense that he really cared about all the musicians that worked with him. And you could feel the care that was in his heart without him having to express it with words. You could hear it in the way he expressed himself through his music and how he interacted like a member of a team. Now, we have the World Cup that's very new for an American like myself. And so we're experiencing the teamwork that's happening in the world of what we call soccer, which is called football everywhere else in the world. And Miles was a team worker. So even though everybody considered him to be the star, and he had the kind of magnetism to attract everybody in the audience, from the standpoint of music, he would very much listen to everything that all the musicians around him provided. He would connect with that environment and make something happen with that environment, or because of the great genius that he had, he was able to, just by playing, to um, sort of summarize the individual contributions that each of the musicians was making, and without imposing himself on the musicians. That's what a true master and a true teammate does. So the idea of Miles being sort of like a father, or me being like a child of Miles, is very flattering to me. Miles has the reputation of not wanting to talk very much, when in fact he was just the opposite. Miles loved to talk, but he felt more comfortable, I think, talking in front of people that he could trust, people that he believed in, people that weren't that didn't have some hidden, what we call in America, hidden agenda, some other purpose that they might have in mind that you wouldn't know about, you know. And that sometimes happens with the press. They may already have decided what the conclusion is that they want to emphasize in their article or in their TV show or uh, the magazine article or in their book, even if they're writing a book. They may have already drawn the conclusion, and they're looking for some way to justify the conclusion that they already drew. But, of course, they wouldn't tell you about it. This is a hidden agenda. You know, when they're smiling in your face and asking you questions to get your answer. But the real purpose is to take only the things that they feel can prove their point and completely distort the idea that you have. Well, Miles had the sensitivity to detect that kind of thing. And I don't want to just pull the press apart. Human beings have a tendency to be deceptive and to be manipulative at times. Miles was one of those rare people that was so sensitive to that kind of characteristic in people that he wouldn't reveal himself. He wouldn't talk. But in fact, I mean, I feel fortunate that he used to talk a lot. He used to tell all kinds of stories. This is one of the ways that he made him a great teacher, was to talk. And some of the other things were that he would turn his back to the audience, which I'm sure many of you have read about or heard about. The fact is, any orchestral conductor turns his back to the audience too, but nobody ever objects to Seiji Ozawa turning his back to the audience, or Bernstein when he was alive, or George Solti. And why do they turn their back to the audience? To face the band, to face the orchestra, in order to lead, in order to conduct. And that's exactly what Miles Davis was doing. I know that. I played with him 5.5 years. I never saw him purposely put his back to the audience. He cared too much about what he was doing. He had too much sincerity about delivering the best possible show that he could deliver to the audience. In other words, he cared enough about the people to allow himself to have his back to them so he could make the music better.